Apple's foldable iPhone is finally feeling real and been waiting years to hear the words. iPhone Fold is coming. The newest leak says we're closer than ever. Whether Apple ends up calling it the iPhone Fold, the iPhone Ultra, or something completely unexpected, the goal is the same: a foldable iPhone that launches on time, ships in meaningful numbers, and avoids the early generation problems we've seen with other foldable phones. And according to a new report from Bloomberg, Apple is still on track to unveil its first foldable iPhone during the traditional September iPhone launch window, right alongside the iPhone 18 Pro and iPhone 18 Pro Max. So in this video, we're breaking down the latest iPhone Fold leak, the rumored release timing, what's happening with production, why people feared a delay, and the key feature Apple is reportedly aiming for that could separate this device from every other foldable on the market: an almost Crease-Free folding display. Let's get into it. First, the big question everyone asks: when is the iPhone Fold coming out? Bloomberg's Mark Gurman says Apple is still on track for a September reveal, which fits Apple's usual playbook. That likely means the foldable iPhone would be introduced at the same major Apple event as the iPhone 18 lineup. Now, a September unveiling doesn't automatically mean day one availability. We've seen Apple announce big hardware and then ship later. Remember the iPhone X, where availability didn't perfectly match the standard schedule. But here's what's important in this leak. Gurman's sources claim the foldable iPhone should go on sale around the same time as the non-foldable iPhone 18 models, or at the latest, very soon after. That wording matters because it suggests Apple doesn't want a long gap between announcement and launch. They want people to watch the event, pick a model, and actually be able to buy it without the foldable iPhone turning into a coming later footnote. But of course, there's a reason people have been nervous about an iPhone Fold delay not long ago. A report from Nikkei Asia suggested Apple might have to push the foldable iPhone back due to issues discovered during test production. And if you know anything about foldables, that's not hard to believe. Foldable phones aren't just normal phones that bend. They're mechanical devices with extreme engineering challenges: hinges, flexible displays, durability over thousands of folds, and long-term screen quality. So when a report says issues found during test production, it instantly raises the red flag. Is Apple going to delay this thing until it's perfect? According to Gurman, the current plan is still to release on time. However, there's an important nuance here. Even if the iPhone Fold launches when Apple wants, the complexity of the design could limit initial supply. That's the key trade-off. In other words, the iPhone Fold might arrive on schedule, but it could be difficult to get, especially in the early weeks, because advanced foldable components tend to have lower production yields, higher failure rates during manufacturing, and tighter quality control. So if you're expecting an iPhone Fold launch that's as widely available as a standard iPhone on day one, this leak suggests you should prepare for a more limited rollout, at least initially. Now, before anyone takes this as a guarantee, it's worth mentioning what the leak also admits. The rumored release is still around 6 months away, and mass production hasn't started yet. That's a big deal, because mass production is when everything becomes real. It's where suppliers have to hit volumes, assembly lines have to run smoothly, and Apple has to be confident it can ship millions of units with consistent quality. So even though the leak says on track, it also indirectly reminds us timings aren't final, and plans can change. Now let's talk about what Apple is allegedly doing differently, because if Apple releases a foldable iPhone that feels like just another foldable, it won't be enough. Gurman reportedly says that iPhone Fold will be similar to competing products in the broad sense, meaning, yes, it will likely resemble the general book-style foldable concept we've already seen: a phone on the outside, a larger display on the inside. But the rumored differentiator is the display itself, and specifically the crease. If you've used a foldable phone before, you already know the truth. The crease is the one thing you always notice. Sometimes you only see it in certain lighting, sometimes you feel it when scrolling, but it's almost always there. And for Apple, that's a problem. Apple doesn't like visible compromises, especially on something as central as the screen. The display is the product. It's what you touch all day. It's what you stare at for hours. And if the signature feature of a foldable is the ability to open up into a larger screen, Apple wants that large screen to feel premium uniform, an Apple-level polished. So here's the big claim. Gurman notes that Apple is aiming to reduce the visibility of the display crease so much that the phone has been described as crease-free. Now, we need to be careful with that phrase. Crease-free might not mean literally zero crease under all conditions. It might mean so minimized that it's hard to see, or less noticeable than rivals, or reduced enough that Apple feels comfortable selling it to mainstream customers. But even that level of improvement would be huge, because if Apple can deliver a foldable screen where the crease is far less visible than what we've seen from current foldables, it instantly becomes a major selling point and a reason for people to choose the iPhone Fold over the competition. So how would Apple do that? Foldable displays have a fundamental challenge. They must bend, and because they need to be flexible, they can't use the same thick, rigid glass that standard phones use. Early foldables relied heavily on plastic layers, which made them more vulnerable to scratches and gave them a softer feel compared to traditional glass screens. Over time, the industry evolved toward ultra-thin glass, often called UTG, which bends without shattering while still offering a more glass-like experience. And according to this leak, Apple is expected to use a similar approach, a flexible glass solution designed for folding. The big question is, how is Apple going to make it better? Because competitors already use UTG. So if Apple wants a crease that's dramatically less noticeable, they'll need a combination of improvements. Not just one dot. It would likely involve a hinge design that controls how the display folds, potentially creating a wider and gentler curve. Instead of a tight bend, a display stack, engineered to distribute stress differently so the fold line doesn't become as defined over time, and a durable top layer that resists micro wrinkles, pressure marks, and long-term wear that makes the crease more obvious months later. And that brings us to another claim from Gurman's reporting. Apple engineers reportedly believe they've solved long-standing issues with foldable screen durability and screen quality. This is the part that Apple fans will cling to, because if Apple has been waiting this long to release a foldable iPhone, it's not because they didn't know foldables exist. It's because Apple doesn't ship a category until they believe they can hit their standards for reliability and user experience. If Apple truly feels it has addressed durability and quality, that would explain why the iPhone Fold is now approaching the finish line. But again, we still don't have the full details. We don't have confirmed specs. We don't have confirmed sizes. We don't know whether Apple will position it as the most expensive iPhone ever, or if they'll try to make it Pro Max Plus pricing rather than a separate luxury tier. And we also don't know how Apple will market it. Will it be the future of iPhone? Will it be the most versatile iPhone? Will it be aimed at productivity multitasking, iPad-style workflows, a new take on iOS? Or will it be positioned as the ultimate premium device, a statement product meant to redefine the top of the lineup? But based on this leak, the strategy is starting to come into focus. Launch in September alongside iPhone 18 Pro and iPhone 18 Pro Max. Ship around the same time, or very soon after. Expect limited supply early because are hard to manufacture at scale and differentiate with display quality, especially by minimizing the crease and improving durability. So, here's what you should do if you're excited about the iPhone Fold. First, don't assume unlimited availability at launch. If Apple releases it on schedule but supply is tight, the earliest buyers might be the ones who prepare for pre-orders immediately. Second, watch for future leaks about mass production. When reports start saying mass production has begun, that's usually when timelines become more reliable. And third, pay close attention to anything related to the hinge and display materials. That's where the iPhone Fold will either become a breakthrough product or just Apple's version of a category everyone else already has, because the iPhone Fold doesn't need to be first. It needs to be the one that feels finished. And if Apple truly delivers a foldable iPhone with a dramatically reduced crease, improved durability, and launch timing close to the rest of the iPhone 18 lineup, this could be the biggest shift in the iPhone's physical design in years.